job, guys. Told you, trust me.
Hi everyone, I'm Jesse with Canine Perspective, and we're back with another video. This one's going to be centered around, working dog owners through the emotional discomfort when using e-collar, simply because of the perception that they think that they're, hurting their dog. And we want to remember that dogs are physical animals, and dogs do bite each other. Okay, and I have a clip where the owner talks about his resource guarding, where he bites and then ends up escalating into an actual physical fight with other dogs.
Like if a dog approaches them while he has a stick, does he snap at them, does he growl at them?
He does the teeth.
Sure.
Like when they're coming. And then if they get too close, then he
bites. Okay. Yeah.
And then they get in the fight.
Sure. So that's his language.
So with e-collar, it's simply a muscle contraction, and we have three levels. We have connection level, perception level, and working level. We're always trying to find that working level. So when we were trying to find Toby's working level, that's where things got kind of uneasy for the owners, and I had to really work them through it.
He does have longer hair. I like thicker hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
You're good. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. But you see how he's still, he's not doing anything? Right? You see the cinch, right? That's connection. But he's not caring. Okay? This is normal. Right? This is perfectly normal. 35, you're fine. Yep. 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 Trust me. Okay. 38. Question so far. He's not gonna hate me. No. He doesn't know where it's coming from.
And this is something that, when we're working with dogs, it's not just a dog, you're working with a human as well. So there's two psychologies that we have to work around. And that's what makes things complicated, because, some people, I understand, care very much for their dogs, but they think that they're hurting their dog when really they're communicating with them. And I like to refer to it as like a bite on the button. But because people think they're shocking or electrocuting their dog, it's that kind of interpretation, which is incorrect. It's just a muscle contraction. They use the technology on humans. So this is why I discourage some folks from board and trains, because they don't see the work, and then they just get their dog and they've done no practice. They've done no e-collar work. So then when they have to use the e-collar to reinforce things, there's usually some kind of emotional issue because the owner feels bad. And then that's why board and trains may not be successful, because then the owner doesn't want to do the work and use the collar. So with verbal instruction, the owner has to do everything from ground zero. So they're starting from scratch. And during that time frame when they're training with me over those 6, 9, 12 weeks, they're building their comfort with using the tool and understanding how it works, so that it becomes just another means of communicating with their dog aside from verbal cues. And they're much more relaxed about it. Okay, so throughout this video, I check on the owners a few times. Okay, do you feel a little bit better now?
Yeah, a little bit better, yeah.
Okay, you did really well, man. Feeling better now? All right, so I'm gonna have you work a little bit more. And this is something that I believe is very important. If you're gonna be a good dog trainer, especially if you're gonna be a good behavioral dog trainer, you have to understand and work with that human psychology so that you can build to success, okay? Because if I came in and I was just really rigid, like this is how we do it, this is how you're gonna do it, and I don't take that into consideration, I'm more than likely gonna either lose the client, I'm gonna get dissuaded, or they're gonna think that they're hurting their dog and not wanna do it, and then they're never making any progress. So over the course of 10 years of working with a lot of people, I've learned how to talk to people, reassure them, alter things a bit to help them relax more, because I know if I take my time and ease them into it, we're going to be far more successful, because they're going to have that visual. So the number that we were aiming for was 38, so we got that working number, and that's when the owners got really uneasy, and I was like, trust me, I've been doing this a long time, this is what we want to do. But instead of pushing them and making them do 38, instead, I said, you know what? Let's go down to 20.
That is meaningful to him. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So actually, what we're going to do before we get started, we're going to go down to 28. We're going to look at Toby. Yep. 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 We're going to start at 28. Okay. So I'm going to ease you into this. Okay. So I'm gonna have you give a little bit more slack.
Okay, we went down 10 levels to provide some comfort. And we gradually went up by 2. So we went 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. And we ultimately ended up back on 38.
A little run, and then we're gonna swap handlers, okay?
Okay, great.
We're at what number right now?
38.
38?
Hit our number.
Okay, so do you see the difference between 28 and 36? Right? Like how much more ground you were able to cover in those turns there. And if the way he's taking this really well. His mouth is open, his tail, is nice and relaxed. He's not spooked or anything like that. I thought he was going to be more flighty, but he's handling this a lot better than I anticipated. Okay, so typically, like, were you expecting worse? Like, were you thinking like?
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting him to fight harder.
Sure, and sometimes it happens, right? We work them through it, we get past it, the dog's fine, right? But here, that was great. Like, this is how we wanted it to work. Okay, he was responding, and which was incrementally 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, right? So had we started at 38, we'd already be here and then further. Okay, because we would start at the working. But I got to think about the human, and I go, okay, clearly there's some reservations. Let me go down 10 levels and do it very gradually, and we're back at that number that we were going to start at. So give you a visual of like, oh, now I see the common sense of why we would have wanted to start at 38. Does that make sense?
And once we reached 38, Toby started giving us everything that we wanted much more easily and to the degree that I'm looking for. I'm always trying to reach a certain standard before the end of the class. And we were able to achieve that when we hit back to 38. So not only did I get the number that I said that's what we want to use, but I also got the owner comfortable, and I got them to understand why 38 would have been effective from the get-go, okay? But they don't understand why. It's my job to educate them, okay? So we go down a little bit lower, I work my way back up, and then once they see it, I go, I ask them questions like, did you see that change? Did you see how better he's responding? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'm always asking them questions to see how they feel about it, to see what they're thinking, to make sure that they're understanding and translating the information well. So that's a very big thing in my style of training, is making sure that the owner is comfortable, but also at the same time pressing them so that we make that progress that we want to make within that time frame. Okay.
We're not trying to be mean. We're not yelling. We're not being forceful. We're not being aggressive. We're not hitting them or anything like that. We're not kicking them. It's physical, but it's completely non-confrontational. He does not know where it's coming from.
So e-collar is very effective because it communicates to dogs in their language. It's physical. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but when used appropriately, it's a very quick process. Okay, and this is not because I'm lazy. This is because other methods simply don't work. So I'm not going to take $1,000 from someone and use methods that I know aren't going to work. This is why I insist on using e-collar, because I know I will get that result by the end of the class using that specific tool, and I know I can get people exactly what they're wanting. So my whole thing is, if I pay someone to build me a home, I expect to come to a home at some point, right? If I pay someone to fix my shower, I expect my shower to be fixed. If I take my car to have the oil changed, I expect the oil to be changed, right? I'm paying for a service. Same thing with dog training. If someone says, hey, Jesse, I'm paying you to train my dog to walk on a leash, come when I call him, and not move for X amount of time, and I go, okay, that's going to be this many classes. We're going to use this tool because that's what's going to guarantee us, as long as you do your homework, those results. Okay, that's how I view it. I'm not going to waste time on food. I'm not going to waste time with prong collar. I'm not going to waste time with a gentle leader or any other tool, because I know that it's either not going to work, it's too nuanced, or takes too much of a skill set on the owner's behalf, and they got their lives that they need to live. Okay, so e-collar is super effective because dogs bite each other, and allows us again to simply bite them at the press of a button. So one of the big things here is kid reactivity and being uncomfortable around kids. And because we did appropriate e-collar, there was kids passing by the entire class. And if you watch the unedited video, there was at least 20 kids on bikes, on scooters, and running just past during that session, and he didn't do a thing, okay? Because we had the brain calm down, we had him disciplined, and we had structure in the mind, okay? So there's a scene here where two kids passed by simultaneously on scooters on each side of Toby, And the owner says something like, oh my God, that made me super nervous, or that made me super anxious because I wasn't sure.
Dogs fight each other and they still play. You know? You see that lip licking he did there? That's a stressor.
Yeah,
That's him saying that I don't like what just happened. It's okay.
I was just as stressed as you. I was looking like,
Yeah. No, there you go. And relax. See that? See how quick that was? So.
Or that made me super anxious because I wasn't sure what he was going to do. And I didn't think anything of it. All I said was that moment stressed him out because he like turned and licked his lips and then turned back and went back to relaxation. And the owner was like amazed. And I said, because of discipline, he's settling down and we're not even seeing that reactivity or that discomfort around kids to the degree that they were seeing it before. And this is something that we're going to cover. And again, that is because of e-collar. So there's another part in this video where the owner, we're talking about, aversives are meant to stop behaviors. Consequences, negative consequences are meant to deter or stop behaviors from being repeated. So if I run a red light and I get a ticket, I don't want to run a red light because I don't want to pay a $100 ticket, right? But that's a different kind of aversive. For dogs, it's all about physical aversives. Dogs bite each other. That is how they correct each other, okay? So again, e-collar, bite on the button. So the owner talks about, I was telling my dog off and I would reward him when he would jump off. And I said, but nothing ever said, don't jump on the counter.
If I want to avoid that, I just don't jump on it.
yeah, that's why I was confused about giving treats when he listens to a command, because if my command is off, he can just jump on me constantly. If he gets off, I give him a treat. It just feels like he just keeps jumping on me and getting treats. That's how I always thought of it. Like, gets on the counter, it's like, get off, and then he gets a treat.
So aversives are meant to stop things you don't want. Reinforcement is meant for things you want to see again, right? But you have two things. You jumped on the counter, but then you said off, you got off, and you rewarded them. So what you're saying is, when I say off, I want to see you remove yourself again. Right. Not don't go there in the first place.
Right, and that's what I was how do I teach you?
That's what aversives are for. Okay? Again, spanking, right? But the most common mentality in the dog training world is no, don't do that. Dogs, blah, 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 you make them worse or whatever. If you're making the dog worse, it's because you're not doing it correctly. Okay? And I get so many other trainers' dogs that I'm just like, nobody really knows what they're doing, okay? There's only a very small, like Caesar Milan is pretty good, but he's like more holistic dog training. He doesn't really do e-collar, right? I love Caesar, but it's really difficult to teach people how to be Caesar, okay? Remote collar, my mentor, Richard Hines, was kind of like Caesar adapted to collar, but he had his own methodology. And in my opinion, I'm like, man, you're the best. I've seen the crazy dogs that he's worked with. I've worked with him on crazy dogs, and we turn them around, right? So I'm like, because he thinks like a dog. He's not thinking like a human who feels bad because it's an animal, right? Like this is a dog right here, okay? Because the dog didn't want to go in the kennel. A very mundane thing is the dog, no, I'm not going in the kennel, and I'm willing to fight you for it. Here we go. That's dog. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have, once you learn how to think like them and approach them like another dog would approach them, very quick. That's why Caesar's so great. He's like a dog. Old Caesar, he's changed a bit. Right? He's kind of a soft. But his old stuff was great. He came in, correction, this is what we do. Boom, great progress. It's just hard to teach people to be that nuanced and perceptive with their dog, right? We're very technological now. That's why e-collar is such an efficient tool, okay? So your homework for the week.
You simply told him or taught him, if I say off and you get off, I will reward you. But the dog does not understand the concept of I want you to get off and not go back on there. Okay, that's the problem with positive reinforcement training. Yeah, the dog will get off, but now you have to tell the dog to get off 100 times a day because nothing's telling him don't do that. And once I explain the concept of consequence and aversives or positive punishers, where we're adding something negative to deter behavior, then it clicks in his brain. He goes, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? But the most common thing you're going to come across, of course, is positive reinforcement because it's easy to do. It makes people feel good thinking that they can correct something using only food or only happy-go-lucky energy or only, play and toys and stuff, but that is not the case. If food and positive reinforcement worked to the degree that they say it does, there would be a lot less untrained or bad dogs. because almost everybody does positive reinforcement. All the pet supermarkets, Petco, PetSmart, every training facility does positive reinforcement. It's just that others, or some others, may also use aversives like prong collar or e-collar. Okay, so again, if positive reinforcement works so great, there wouldn't be so many dogs with issues, and I wouldn't have a business. I would be out of business. Okay, e-collar is perfectly safe to use, and we just have to know how to teach it to the human correctly so that they feel good about it, they see the results, and it motivates them to want to keep practicing. Okay, other methods don't do that, because as soon as they try to apply it outside and it's not working, then they're thinking, well, what do I do, right? And then the answer is, well, maybe it didn't work for your dog. It doesn't work for a lot of dogs. Okay, they just don't want to admit it. So at the end of the session, again, you see me check in with the client, and I say, how you feeling? And they're both like, oh yeah, a lot better. Like they feel this really good energy. And the wife notes like, you know what? I really saw the change, and I need to get over myself.
Good job, guys.
All right, thank you.
Told you, trust me.
Yeah, I feel much better than I
I know, I
did
feel like, yeah, I gotta get over
first 5 minutes.
Yeah, you care about it. I completely understand it. But I want you to think whenever you're feel apprehensive, just think about the kids thing, think about the resource starting thing, and where he's willing to go. To kind of push you through it, because that's what, if we don't push through this, we won't fix that, or we cannot fix that. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, all right, awesome. Well,
Right. And I really have an appreciation for dog owners like this, because they are aware that they are going to be the ones that are going to hold themselves back and inhibit the progress. But it's that awareness that's key, because she goes, you know what? Yes, I don't like this, but I see the effectiveness of it and it makes sense to me. Okay. So that emotional part, and I tell them, and it's using what we have. So the dog, again, is a resource guarder and has issues with kids. And I said, if we don't get over this, just for this exercise, because we're working on heel, with using e-collar at the working number, we're not going to get to resource guarding, and we're definitely not going to get to the kid stuff. Okay? And I tell them, use that to motivate you to keep pushing forward, so that we do get the success and we do get to the degree that we're wanting in terms of the training. So for other trainers out there, this is a skill set that you should learn to develop, how to communicate with people, how to understand them, empathize with them, and provide them with confidence and comfort that the techniques that we're using are effective. So I'm Jesse with Canine Perspective. Thank you for watching.
I mean, the idea is that I want him to be safe. I don't want him to do something that he's going to essentially regret.
because at the end of the day, if something happens, he's the one that's going to suffer, right?
He's the one who's going to suffer, and I don't want that.
You obtain safety through control. Right. So like right now, because we have them under control, when those kids pass by on the scooter, and you're like, oh, it's going to happen.
Right.
Because of control. And I've only worked with them and you guys for like 40 minutes.